Actually, we are building now, right now, I think the biggest ever Fab Lab in Europe here at the Palazzo dei Congressi. So starting tomorrow, all the Italian Fab Labs and several European Fab Labs are together in the basement. So you can go there and tinker and learn and watch and meet people. So I think it's going to be interesting. And from the Fab Lab of Barcelona, a friend of us that has been here in Rome in May, it has been so impressive. Come in, come in. Tomas Diez. Welcome back.
Thank you.
It was a promise that you have to come back.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ricardo and Massimo, for inviting me. I'm an urbanist. I'm born in Venezuela. It's related with what I'm going to talk about, so I understand about cities. But I've been doing fabrication stuff during the last 7 years when the Fab Lab Barcelona started. I'm now running the Fab Lab Barcelona with colleagues that are sitting around. You will see some of the projects in the Fab Lab exhibition. And I'm also the Fab Foundation project manager for Europe in the development of new Fab Labs and regional foundations. So I'm going to talk about a little bit the whole history behind cities. No, I'm joking. I'm not going to cover all of that. But I'm very interested on how cities have grown and also in how technologies have been part of that change in society during time. No? So if you think about the concept of a city, we're in the perfect place for it. The Romans invented a way to expand cities, and that's why the Roman Empire was growing so fast, more or less 2,000 years ago. But they had a formula to basically to grow cities as it was expanding. What is really interesting is that that same formula was used 1,500 years later with the discovery of a new world. What is really interesting is that in the 15th century, besides the discovery of new people that we didn't know that they existed in the planet, including part of my ancestors, we were also discovering new ways of communicating. So for me, it's very interesting that in the same time, Gutenberg invented the printed press. And actually, the knowledge started to travel faster and faster across people. And basically, I think that that's the founding of how we went from the medieval age to the Renaissance. And again, we are in the perfect place for that. But basically, the Renaissance, again, exploded the technology, increased the development, and was the starting point of, some people have talked about it, the first industrial revolution, or the creation of new machinery to substitute the hand labor of humans. But we did another big change a couple hundred years later with the industrialization of production. It means the production of a single thing many times, and that actually started around 120 years ago, and this is 40, one of the clear examples of that. So that, in a way, is associated with the discovery of a new source of energy, but also a new source of raw materials. We are sitting now in chairs, we are wearing things, we're using devices that are basically based on oil, and not only in terms of energy, but actually the raw materials that are used for it, right? One of also interesting things that happened in the beginning of the 20th century, or after the Second World War is the creation of, in one hand, the financial system that is actually still the International Monetary Fund is controlling Spain and a lot of countries in Europe and in the world, but actually also the creation of agencies for the development of research outside of the military industry. So a lot of knowledge that was created under the military industry didn't have a clear purposes because there was no war. So they went to industries and to people, basically. No? One of those is the computers. That's one of the first computers, the ENIAC, that was maybe a room in 40 square meters or 60 square meters, comparable to where you can fit a Fab Lab today, right? But what is more important is how these creations, they went a step further. This is the most unpolite slide, maybe, of my presentation. I'm sorry about the guys of Olivetti. I will replace it from what I saw before. And then I want to ask you, do you know who is the girl in your right hand? Anyone knows? It's Elena, yeah, exactly. So it's basically the first image ever transmitted between two computers, the first digitalized image and broadcasted in a network. That was the foundings of the internet. Elena was a playmate of the Swedish playmate. Very beautiful, by the way. So basically, we have been constructed a world until until today, that we have personal computers, we have the ability of compute, everyone has a computer or a device in their pockets. We have internet that actually compares to what Gutenberg discovered in the 15th centuries, of Marconi at the beginning of the 20th century. It means that we accelerated the process of communicating between each other, which is very important. But we are still relying on a model of centralized production. Oh, I have 30 seconds. This is not going to happen. OK, so this is a model where we take raw materials in one side of the world, we ship it to the other, we convert it in consumer goods, and then we produce trash. Basically, you can buy anything anywhere, everything is producing at the same site, and this is a model that we call product in, trash out. It's how the cities work today. So basically, we took out all the production from the city to mainly when we can have cheap labor, hand labor, and then we import products, but actually what we produce is just trash, right? What happens if we move to a model of personal computation, internet, but actually distributed manufacturing? And this is a model that we call data in, data out. So you can have infrastructure in cities in which you have the closed cycle of the matter within the city, and whatever you have coming in and out is just data and knowledge, okay? And this is where you enter the Fab Labs. It's a place where you can make almost anything, but actually you can make the things that make almost anything, that they can produce themselves, are related with the Prusa talk and also with the laser sword. So imagine that you have a place where you can actually build the machines that the place needs to be run, right? So how those cities is going to look like, this is what I'm wondering around. And I'm going to show you some of examples, let's say, in different scales. In Barcelona, we have the Fab City project on development with the local city council. I'm sorry. So basically, we are developing an infrastructure of Fab Labs in every single district of the city that probably in the next year we will have the first Fab City in the world that actually will have a distributed production, let's say, infrastructure, but actually it's a citizen-based innovation platform. But this is not only in the high scale. It's really including, we're not talking about exclusive or high-end technological places, but actually places where kids, 8-year-old, they can make their own microcontrollers. It's also places that will be connected with a global network, with a global community of Fab Labs, more than 200 Fab Labs right now, and hopefully we'll double next year, where you can make things like a house. This is the Fab Lab house we made in 2010 for a solar decathlon competition. I'm sorry, Ricardo, I need to finish this. Then we have projects like the Green Fab Lab. Is actually a Fab Lab that is going to research about which are the issues of the relationship between technology and nature. Because if we think that we were going to have 500 Fab Labs cutting acrylic and plywood, that will be very bad. So we should find for new raw materials to be used, and some of the talks are related to that. And then finally, I'm going to finish with a smart citizen, of course, because it's very related with this Faire. It's a crowdfunded project based on citizen-based sensing. So what we did is to develop, we assume that every person can become a producer of data, and what we just need is tools to make it possible, data that will be significant for the quality of life in cities. So it means that we developed our own shield some years ago, as you can see, based on Arduino, but we wanted to take it further, and we did like a standalone board, still compatible with Arduino. We went with this board to Kickstarter. We raised nearly $70,000 US, and now we are going to have close to 1,000 sensors at the end of the year. And this is connected to an online platform that actually is the community building, which is more important about the project, not only the technological side, but actually what I use this data for, how I can understand it, and how I can really make change in my city. So as I said, it's very important, the moment that we are having to now, we have people, information going around, computation in our hands, and production capabilities, and this is where we are entering, the high-tech medieval tech, or you can call it technological humanism or the second renaissance. And I invite you to the 10th Fab Lab conference in Barcelona next year in July. I'm sorry, 3 minutes extra, yeah.